Hello, well, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. Well, great weekend last weekend. We were at Scale Model World, which is the IPMS big show, the major competition here in the UK, and obviously a lot of Europe as well comes over. They say it's the world's largest, but then so does the American one as well. So somewhere between the two, somebody's probably telling the truth. They've got big plans for expansion next year as well. We were speaking to them about, so they probably will be the biggest next year. Certainly absolutely manic busy on the Saturday. Sorry I couldn't speak to a lot of you. I know especially a lot of the members were trying to get a chat, but as you might know, we were like 6 deep trying to get in. I mean, you couldn't see any other stand at all because of the amount of people in there. Sunday a little bit quieter. We had a good chance to chat to people and everything else like that, which was really, really good. We did great at the show. I know a lot of our members won at the show as well. So what you need to do, guys, is post up pictures of what you won with your medals and everything else on the forum, and then we can perhaps put together a little montage. It's something I wanted to do here, but obviously a lot of you have travelled back from the show and then work commitments and things like that, so we haven't had time for it in this one. But it was great. Thanks for all your kind comments on the Sufa, which was at the show, flashing away, and the other ones. Marcus had his sort of naval collection there, which is great. So we had his Hawkeye, which obviously appeared in Airfix magazine last month, and then obviously he had his Grummans and the Viking and everything else. Always great scratch building. Great to have Hans along as well. So I know a lot of you met with Hans as well for the first time and said what a great guy he was. So we had our little mini team there as well. Eduardo, Jurgen was there, just to mention a few. Ross Armstrong, you might remember I did a commission for him that was for a Snap charity commission for the Corsair. I'm glad to say that made it back to the US with no problems at all, which, trust me, the troubles I had, I didn't want to fly with it. But anyway, so it was great to meet all you guys. Great to see Martin as well, spent the evening with us as well, putting up with us, which was mad, especially on Saturday night because there was a few too many beers consumption. Sorry, Friday night, as Mr. Jellyman can testify for on Saturday morning. So anyway, as I said, it was a great show. We got loads and loads of pictures, but hadn't had time to really put together, a full montage about it like we normally do. I'll probably get that done over the weekend, and then we'll get something up on the site. So if you didn't have time to go and see the show, you can see our collections of photos from it. But it really was great to meet so many of you. The goodie bags, we banked on probably around about 100 members turning up. We actually went through about 300 in the end, which was quite something. And the other good news is that we topped the 1,600 mark on members over as well over the weekend, probably because due to the show, because a lot of you have joined up since then. So if you are new to it, hello, welcome. Things to remember, get yourself in the forum. It's really important. You would believe the amount of stuff we got in the forum is absolutely massive now and goes on forever. Great reference things. We've had a bit of a team meeting over at the show. We've sort of come up with some great new ideas and new plans, which hopefully we're going to implement very, very soon. We've started to put some of them into sort of motion already. So that was absolutely fantastic. The unfortunate thing, whilst we were away, a couple of the SIGs finished, okay? So the Armour SIG has now finished. The winner has been told to me, but I'm doing the video for it as we speak, and obviously that will appear at the end. So I will make all announcements on the SIG winners next week's show, because obviously we've got a bit of a packed show for you today. The other one as well was a Swedish build. Not many entries, but when you look at the quality of the guys that have done, obviously Stefan and Jonas, being from that neck of the woods anyway, really took it on board, but their work is great. Hans did a great Draken as well. Fantastic work by everybody. So again, I'll put together a video with a montage and everything, and that will be up in next week's show. So that's those two over. So at the moment, the only group build we currently got going on is the actual one for the transport build, and I'm going to be doing a transhaul for that build, which I will talk about a lot more next week. I literally haven't started on it yet, but I'll explain that in a moment. But that will be on, then I'm going to run through, because that's going to run through all the way to March the 4th. Now, I've had loads of people come up to me, especially at the show, saying what's the next 4 SIGs and things like that. Hans has done, below here, if you're looking on the Flory Models news page, our little guide to when they are, how long they work for, if they're SIGs, prizes, things like that, and who's in charge of the actual SIGs and group builds. So if you look below here, you will see a multicoloured thing which he sorted out for us, which is like a banner which shows all the different dates and where it is, and it runs right the way through for years as well. So the next two up, we've got the Hornet SIG, special interest F-18 Hornet. So the Boeing one, anything right the way through to A to F, anybody's you like, complete. I know a lot of you might know I did build 1 or 2 a few years ago, 1 or 200 that is, these in 148 scale as a giant commission, so I think I pretty much covered every single one there was. So I'm used to building them. I might even just do another, because I have got an F-18C up there with all the goodies as well, so I might join in with that one if I've got time. So that is actually going to start on the 3rd of December, and it's going to run through now to the 25th of March. Normally they were only for 3 months, months, we've decided to extend them when we had a little bit of a meeting at Scale Model World to pull them on along a little bit, because a lot of people are finding 3 months is too short a time. So we've moved SIGs now over to 4 months duration, so it gives you a lot more time to get things finished. Now the group builds will still be 6 months, and that's how it's going to work. So what we're going to try and do is step all the SIGs along, so they sort of step along sort of monthly interval, so we have no more than sort of 3 SIGs running at any one time on one group build, and then follow along. So you have got a little bit of a gap before that one starts, and then the Harrier SIG is going to start on the 15th of December and going to run all the way to April the 15th, so that will take you well into spring next year. The reason for doing that, obviously it's the anniversary of the Harrier, so we're starting on the dates where it first took to the air and everything else like that. So that's a great thing. But let's say Hans has spent a bit of time putting this together, a chart which got them all on there. You can see exactly where it is, and the forthcoming SIGs as well. We've got other SIGs as well. Sam Magazine is sponsoring one of our SIGs on the 109. We're doing one on the Messerschmitt 109, and Sam Magazine is actually kindly sponsoring that one for us as well. So you can see those full SIGs, when they're going to take part and everything, right the way into the new year, and then it runs right the way through. And then obviously you can see in there some of the ones which we're thinking about considering. So if you think you'd like to really go for that one and push that one, a lot of interest, get in contact and we can see about implementing that one and perhaps bringing it up the line a little bit further. So at the moment what we've got also is, I managed to pick up at Telford, he says desperately looking around for it, here it is Barry, at the show, something a little bit different which a lot of people have been speaking about. Now this is Alicat's multimedia kit, Tucano. Now this is resin, white metal, photo etch and things like that. So here's a little look of what you get in the box. Okay, so this inbox review is one that I picked up at Scale Model World Telford. Now this is Alicat's Tucano in 1/48 scale, which seems to be overlooked by a lot of the traditional sort of styrene injection moulded companies. Don't tend to do them. So Alicat jumped on this one and got us in. Now this kit is available in a few different guises, as in markings. Okay, we've gone for something a little bit different with this one, but obviously you can have it in the black, or the sort of, they did one where it was in the World War II colours and things like that. Basically same kit, different markings. So what do you get in the box? Okay, in the box, as you can imagine, because this is a relatively limited run kit being resin, the parts are pretty much very fragile and everything else. So thing is, nice casting, we've got nice panel lines running through this, and the great thing with this kit is the panel lines seem to be the same depth throughout the entire build. Now many of them I've done in the past where you find them and you do tend to get the situation where it starts off very crisp and then perhaps peters out. But if we bring it up to the camera, you might be able to see we've got nice panel lines down in there, nice detail in the well. Okay, down the back here we've got a bit of flash, but again, nothing that can't be easily taken care of and sawn off. We have got a tiny few little holes in the wings, you can see them down there, but again, this is resin, not a problem to fill it. Okay, so going through, as you can imagine, let me get these bits out. One piece fuselage cast in one big lump. These bits we don't worry about because they'll just trim off again. So what we're doing, we're really just looking to make sure you've got no warpage, it's not bent or anything else like that. But as I said, again, very nice casting. Because it is in resin, it actually makes it a lot easier to sand and fill than you would imagine that if you're using plastic. The other thing as well, you've got good detail on the inside of the side walls already. So it's all moulded in one complete plug, goes in and pulls out. Job done. It's hollow as well, pretty much right the way through until you get to the very end of the tail, so it's not like a complete cast lump of resin. Got a nose as well, very nicely detailed, everything else. Again, there's no big holes in it, air bubbles or anything else like that, and I think really with just a very light scribe over and a polish, you actually come up really, really nice. Into the bag of the resin bits. As you can imagine, you've got quite a few, and just be careful where you handle them. So we've got all the gear doors and things like that. Again, nice detail both sides. This isn't just like an outward kit like some of the old resin ones where it all detail be on the outside. You've got good detail on the inside as well. A couple of nice ejector seats as well. So we've actually got harnesses built already into those, handles, things like that. So we've got 2 of those. The actual cockpit tub itself, again, quite basic, but we'll see that in a moment. We've got some photo etch as well. Okay, instrument panel, quite nicely detailed with the bezels front and rear, so that's okay. Wheels, again, nicely done. Be very easy to flatten them off to give them some nice flat spots. Again, nicely cast, no problems there. And then again, we've got, just down here, we've got the gear doors, nose ones, and then down in the back here, we've got some more of the gear parts as well. So that's all very, very nice. Now, the nice thing that comes with this particular kit, as you move through all these bits, slide them out of the way, is this. In here, we've actually got 2 lumps of lead. Okay, now this is for your nose weights, and these fit into the actual model themselves, which is a lovely little touch as well. You've also got some other ones. We've got the tail planes, control surfaces and flaps, things like that. As I say, they're a separate fit, so you can actually have those into whatever position you want. So I won't bother going through them. Some more white metal. So obviously we've got the gears and the props and everything else in with these, which is a nice little touch as well. So very nice ones. Again, not much flash on those. It's white metal, it's limited edition, so you're obviously not going to have the detail, but a little bit of a clean-up should really bring those to life. Okay, we got a little photo etch fret here. So we've got this little guy here. Again, very nicely done. We've got some nice detailing and bits in there, which is okay. Couple of masks. So we've actually got here, we've got a mask for the canopies. Okay, nicely done, pre-cut and everything else from the inside and the outside. So you can spray the inside, so it's quite nice. Normally you get a die set, it's usually just the outside. This, well, you've actually got the marked, it says outside, and then down here for the inside, so you can spray both sides of it. And this is the bit I like about it. And normally when you're dealing with resin, vac form and everything else, it's usually a plain vac form canopy. Now this little guy is actually one piece cast clear resin, which is extremely clear. This isn't your normal vac form where it's horrible and all the rest of it. This is very clear. So obviously you're going to have to trim off all this extra around it. But again, because it's in resin, it's quite easy to sand and to cut. And to be honest, it's very thin, this carrier one anyway, the actual one that's gone in the tub. But it is crystal clear just like that, without having to mess around with and go in with, you know, obviously a vac form one, you've got to build it up, somehow fix it in and everything else. So that is a lovely, lovely little touch, which is one thing I love about this resin kit. We've also got some lights, little navigation lights and things in there as well. So that is very nice. Okay, instructions. Something a little bit different here as well. We've got colour reference photos showing you all the various things. Okay, and then for actually building it, we've actually got photos with reference photos to how it is, and this is actually how you build up. Let's show decals. So it shows here the actual placement in photo. So instead of it being like a drawing and all the rest of it, it shows where the lead weight goes up into the nose and another one down there and how the actual hinges should fit. So in some ways you've actually got a little bit nicer sheet. So you've actually got here fitting of the canopy, the area, so it's actually nice to be like a pictorial way of doing it all. But as I said, you've got it for the gear there and everything else. I like that way of doing it, I must admit. You know, as they always say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, but having nice clear reference photos as well really helps with the build. As we said, we've got the decal sheet as well, so obviously we've got the 2 canonars are going to be on the tail and everything else. That's kit specific, so obviously the different versions you have will have a different one in there. Okay, and last but not least, you've actually got your decal placement. So we can do 2. You can do the all over blue, or you can do the sort of 2-tone ones. You've got the banded one as well, so that's very, very nice. And obviously the underside. Okay, so we're talking a great kit, everything else, but this does come at a slight price. The only trouble with this kit in 148 is it is near £50 for the kit. But on the other hand, if you want a Tucano in resin with a one-piece resin thing, it is an absolute bargain, you know, from that point of view. You have to imagine this is literally from a small manufacturer. This isn't a multimedia company which has got bits and fingers in all of the different pies. This is Alicat, based up in Scotland. He's a great guy. Attention to detail is second to none. I know for a fact, because personally I use him all the time, but if you've got any problems with the kit, any warpage, perhaps you've got, you know, his quality control is brilliant and you shouldn't get anything through, perhaps in transit something like gets broken, you just phone them up, send them an email, and they'll get a replacement part out to you with no problems at all. So their customer service is absolutely fantastic, and I know a lot of people worry about that when you're dealing with a limited run company or sort of aftermarket companies like this, that it's just a guy doing it from his shed and really doesn't care about once he sold it. Trust me, Alicat are absolutely fantastic for this. So actually I'm going to be building this one hopefully just before Christmas. I want to get it out because everyone said about working with resin. I think this is a great resin one. They also do a range of resin kits just like this one, and they do, the latest one is the Vampire. I haven't actually got that one, but I know Hans has got it, and hopefully he'll be doing his little inbox review on that one as well. That one is a doddle of a kit because literally nose goes on, the wings are all blended into the fuselage, and it's a lovely looking kit as well. So thumbs up to Alicat. We'll be doing this one hopefully just before Christmas. Okay, so there we go. Great kit. Expensive, I know, but really when you think about the amount of work and everything goes into it and the amount of kits that are going to be sold over the time, that's why limited edition run kits tend to be a bit expensive. But that said, let's face it, you can pay a lot more than that for a rebox of some bit of styrene that's been kicking around since 1980. So when you look at it like that, it's actually quite cheap. Anyway, a few things been going on, obviously, last week and then this week and everything else. One of those was that the Sufa came to an end. Fantastic build, really love that, and the feedback we had at the show seeing it, unfortunately we couldn't have it on the display base with it angled up as if it's just landing, coming weight on wheels at the back end, purely because the base we had was too big for our table and was taking up too much room, and when we tried to do it with just the template for the runway system on the top, it bent the cardboard up because of the weight of it on it. So unfortunately we had to have it down, but you can see in the photos the full build is up. So this is the last part of the build which really shows it all literally just coming together, showing it about mounting it on the base with it all powered up and everything else like that, with the lights, the cockpit and everything else, and then obviously the final reveal photos at the end. It's been a really truly great build on that one. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots of extra bits going in there, the wiring, the lighting, the resin and everything else. So if you haven't seen it, it's actually 7.5 hours long, this build from start to finish. It's in 15 parts now. Okay, there will be available on DVD. It's on twin DVDs. I know we had a few for sale at Scale Model World and a lot of you bought them. In fact, we sold out. We came back with one, and I took 15 up there to sell. It is a twin DVD. Now it is in a new format. It is in QuickTime format. The reason for that is that their HD coding crunches it to a tiny little file, which means we can get then, as you say, 10 gig onto 2 discs and things like that. So it manages to all fit on there in crystal clear and everything else like that. So you thoroughly enjoy it. That one should be out next week. They're being done by the company at the moment. They'll send them to us, then we put them in our boxes. Insert sheet goes in and they're ready for sale. As soon as they're ready, they'll be up on the site, but it should be early next week with that one. But it's twin disc, but it's still going to be £10, or it'll be then, as you say, $5.49 for not for the members. You obviously get it at a discount price anyway. So that was the end of that one. Sadly, that one's out of the way. So now it's nice to move on to something a little bit smaller, shall we say. So for this one, we're actually doing the Edard rebox of the old Academy kit. Now, the old Academy kit, if you've seen it, is like £15. It's still a real bargain. They do the UB version, the 2C or the single C. As I said, it has been knocking around a while now. And one of the drawbacks was it was a great kit, recessed panel lines, everything else like that, but it just needed that little bit more. So you had to put into it perhaps a resonant seat, some nozzles, things like that to really just to liven it up and bring it up to date. Well, Edard have done their trick and they built a cockpit for it, which is the glide fit. It's just replacement drop-in fit to the old one. Loads of photo etch and everything else. And I don't know how well you can see, but you might be able to see we've got it installed in there, which is really nice. It's going together, it's a great kit, goes together as well. So part one of this build, again they're all in HD now, is up for members to watch right now, is up on the site. So you can start to see how that one's going to go together. It's going to be a quick build because there's nothing complicated with it, but what I'm going to do is really weather this one up. It's going to look like it's been to hell and back, like a lot of the Russian jets do. Plenty of chipping, plenty of worn down paint and griminess and things like that. So that's going to be a lovely build to do, and starting on Monday I'll be working on the Transor as well. So you're going to have 2 builds running in parallel. We're going to have a civilian one, which will be the Transor, and then obviously we're going to be having the MiG-29 running along, and then after that more builds will be coming online. But now we've got all the show season out of the way, I can really concentrate on getting some great building done and getting them up. So there will be 1 hour of video for members to watch every single week now, plus this, plus the photo builds and things. So with any luck there'll be lots for you all to do. So you can watch that one now, members, great one to see. At the same time, if you're not a member and you want to see one of our builds, we've got a basic build that we actually did, which is the Canberra, which is right here. He says, just to prove it is mine. So this is the camera, which I actually is in this month's Airfix magazine, which I did for them some time ago, to be honest, and I didn't even know it was coming out. So apologies to everybody who suddenly emailed me saying, where is it on the site? It's supposed to be free. It's there now. Okay, click below here or on the actual Airfix tab, and that will take you to that page where you can see that build from start to finish. It's quite a basic build, there's no extras in it as such, but what I do talk about is actually doing camo work and using the little sausages for doing the camo. So also see there's a photo build in there that's in the magazine, and also the video build as well. So if you haven't seen it in the magazine, you can see it here on the site. So that's that one done. Photo builds. A lot of people have been emailing over the last few months saying about used to put up photo builds from the members. All the photo builds that have been up there and are in the photo build section are from our members, okay? Now, just because of the sheer volume of work and everybody's been on holiday and everything else, we haven't been able to put up so many. So we're going to get that going again. And also the team are actually going to be doing now specialised custom photo builds for the forum. Obviously the forum and the guys, you'll see them as normal, but they'll be out on the same site site as well in the free area. So this week we've got Adrian Jeffries has redone the Revell 132nd AH64 Apache. Now this one I remember doing as a kid, it's that old, okay, and he's done loads of updating and scratch building and some great work on it, really to bring it up to today's standard, and makes it look an absolutely fantastic kit. Loads of crystal clear photos right the way through. He's got a lot of the panels all open, showing all the gorgeous detail inside it. Well worth having a look. It's a great build, Adrian, and it's a pleasure to have it on the site. So thank you for allowing us to be on there. So again, it's right below here if you're looking at this on the news site. If you're on YouTube, you're going to have to go over to the Flory model site, go on the news page, and it's down the bottom, or just click on the photo builds and it will be in there as well. So it's a great one to have a look at. So anyway, the other thing as well, whilst I was away at the show and setting it up for 2 weeks, I managed to let my airbrush completely sit in my holder over here for 2 weeks in a nice warm house and everything, going rock hard. So here's a little thing about how you clean them out. Okay, so how many times do you come back, and perhaps you've been away for a day, a week, a month, or in my case 2 weeks, okay, and you found your airbrush is completely dried out where you forgot to put the paint in it. Now a lot of people, it's like, oh, big panic because obviously the needle's pretty much jammed. We've got air, but we can't pull back because the needle's jammed, okay? So no matter how hard you pull, nothing happens. So what you don't want to do, let me put the cover on the old compressor. What you don't want to do is obviously force the needle, because then all you're going to end up doing is scratching the needle, wearing away parts and things like that. So what we're going to do, got a quick release for the air. Going to take the air out. Okay, if we bring you in just a little bit. Okay, for this one, this is just your standard 2-in-1. This is the Harder and Steenbeck Evolution. Okay, so obviously different airbrushes do different things, but roughly they're all going to be roughly the same thing. So okay, in case of this one, all we're going to do is unscrew the back, take the back off, and we're going to unscrew the front, okay, and take that off. Now, you might be able to see, I'll show you in a moment, some airbrushes, obviously the outer nozzle comes off, but you've got the inner nozzle itself, okay, the actual nozzle for the paintwork. Sometimes you have to unscrew it, so you want to unscrew it carefully and take it off. And then on the end here, we've still got, you might be able to see, we've got loads of build-up paint down here on the end of the needle and things like that. Okay, so you might see just in there pretty much solid paint everywhere you look. So obviously we've got it in this part as well, in the little cap, and you might be able to see, if we get the camera in as well, you see gooey paint inside there as well. Okay, so what we need to do is really clean them out, but the first thing we need to do is get the needle out. So what we're going to do, we've got a little bit of kitchen roll, that's just really to catch anything that falls out of anything like this. What we're going to do, we're going to take the colour cut off the top if you can, because obviously we're just trying to lighten this up. Unscrew the rear collet at the back. Okay, now what you don't want to do is drag this backwards, because when you drag it backwards you're going to be pulling all this dry paint and everything down here into the business end where the trigger section is and everything. And normally, or most airbrushes have in here, you've got a big old washer, a big fat O-ring that stops paint coming backwards. But as you can see, just to prove this isn't a trick, we've got dried up gooey paint in there, and as we've unscrewed the cap, you can probably see the end, it's actually scraped it away and everything else. So what we're going to do is pop it down with one firm shank. Make sure you're 90 degrees to the needle to the table, okay? All we're going to do is give it a tap, okay, and hopefully the shock will go straight through to the needle and straight out, okay? And then if we pull this out, you see, when you pull it out, it's still very tough, but you can probably see here, the end of this needle is absolutely caked. Okay, now the point where we're black, just back here, okay, just down by my finger, is where it was caught on that rubber O-ring that stops the paint coming back, and that's normally where it's going to jam, okay, because the rest of it is tapering forward and obviously getting thinner. Then the black, as you see it on the end, is actually shiny metal compared with the paintwork behind it. So we've obviously still got a lot of paint in this area, and we don't want to go around with thinners too much because it's going to pull back. So we're going to give this one a quick full strip. Now normally you don't have to go as far as this, but sometimes it just helps. What we're going to do is just take out the carriage and everything. So we've just got this part here. Now for this, to be honest, I'm just going to use normal acrylic thinners. Okay, now obviously if you're using enamel, use enamel thinners, but I'm going to use acrylic thinners. So we're not using anything that's going to destroy or get in there. So all we're going to do, we're going to dunk a cotton bud in here, and we're just going to start on the needle and we're just rubbing it in. Okay, and we're going to start it eating all the nasties off of this needle. Now don't go to the end and drag back, because all you're going to end up doing is actually breaking your needle. So if we just bring some better light in here, okay, all we're doing is literally work it off and just rubbing it on so it starts to eat into that paint. You can probably see by the cotton bud how obviously I was doing a sand colour last time, which might have something to do with a certain F16 which we took to the scale model world. Okay, so we're off like that. Just going to say another bit of bounty, scrunching out a little bit. What we're going to do is pull to the end. We're not coming backwards because obviously you might stab yourself with the needle, and all we're doing is pulling it off the end. So we've got most of it off, a little bit more going on. Okay, if you've got a couple of real tough bits in the middle, I say not near the needle end, but just give them a scrape with your fingernail, that helps, and then just off to the end. Now as you wipe down, you're going to feel if you've got any areas. Okay, again, cotton bud. But what you're trying to do with all of these cleaning regimes is keep them as gentle as possible. You don't want to be going around using aggressive chemicals, which, you know, let's face it, we've all got liquid reamers, or most of us got liquid reamers, which would strip this in seconds. The only thing I don't like about it ends up eating your O-rings and seals and your airbrush and everything else like that. So our needle is all nice and clean. Okay, so all we're going to do, now you could soak the parts, but if you haven't got one, you can buy these little guys. Now these are usually specific to your type of airbrush, but these are little reaming tools, so you unscrew it, and it's a lethal looking needle. Now these sometimes are around about sort of £5, £5 to £10, but trust me guys, they're worth their weight in gold, because when you push this in the end, it won't push out the front of the needle, but hopefully you will see. You turn it like you would to get blocks of cheese out, and you can probably see on here we are full of paint. So when you wipe the needle, again backwards, down here you can see on the tissue loads of paint coming out. So what we want to do is get as much out as we can for the moment before we start getting it wet and things like that. So we're doing this obviously all in real time, so we can show you exactly what we're trying to achieve. But literally it comes out like cheese out of here. But as I say, sometimes if it's really dry, it will come out in one lump. This got a little bit, it's like gone off concrete. So it's got a little bit still in here. Excuse the dog. So there we go. We're just going to run it round a little bit more until you really can't get any more out, but you can still feel it in there. And if you have a look down the end, you should see sort of daylight coming through the end a little bit. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to take a little bit of thinners on a pipette, and we're just going to poke it in the end and give it a bit of a squirt. And you should see it come out the end. Then your brushes, now as I said, this one's quite a horrible old one, but it's specific to the air nozzle cleaning. Okay, then you just give it a run and pull it out, and there we go. There's a good example of what we're trying to do. You will get that giant bit at the end is in fact dried paint that was down near the nozzle, if I can get it off and show you at the same time. There we go. And it's things like that. So what you can do, clean up all around it, but remember, again, we were saying gentle cleaning. We don't want to be in here stabbing away at it, because all we're going to end up doing is bending out the end and the parts. So we just go in there, bit of a clean up the end. Okay, happy how that is. We're just going to leave it to one side, get covered in thinners. Okay, so that's your nozzle clean, and if you look through it, you should see daylight down the end, which is always a good sign. If you can't, don't worry too much. You're bound to blow a load of rubbish through when you blow it on, but it's got most of it out. Next up, we've got down here in this colour cup area. Same thing, I'm just going to come in with thinners, put my finger over the end to stop it obviously just dropping straight out the end. Take an old brush, and all we're going to do is give it a bit of a rub round, give it a scrub, and let the thinners or for your paint do the work. Again, you could come in here with very, very strong cleaners and things like that. The other thing as well, you've got your other brushes, so just give this a scrub round. Okay, then it should go up in the end here. You'll find, go up. Again, touch more thinners going in, and brush, and just literally hydrating the actual paint that you're doing. Turns back to a liquid, and then with any luck will start coming all out. Again, we were saying you could use a stronger cleaner to do this, but in all honesty, I don't like using them because it tends to eat your seals and things like that. Now don't worry too much. I know a lot of people say about you shouldn't use paintbrushes and that, but obviously if you've got one that's old but not losing bristles, they're the ones to go for. So we just give that a wipe out. Cotton bud in there. Cotton buds, Q-tips, absolutely essential for good airbrush maintenance. Now you could just do this every few months because obviously you're not going to hurt nothing, and it will just keep your airbrush looking smart and clean. So we just give this a wipe down now. Right, here comes the clever bit. Taking your needle, okay, putting it in backwards so it's flat end, not the spiky end, in the back, and push down. And then you should find you'll get horrible amounts of goo and yuck on the end. And you can just tap them off. You'll probably see them coming down. And just take it pull it all the way back and then forward. I know a lot of people go through and through, but I must admit I'm not going to flap around with that. That takes far too long. Okay, so we're just going down. And you should feel the needle almost want to drop through. It should be nice and very, very fluid. Then you can put it down in the pointy end as well. Okay, and it should just flow through. So we're just going to take some thinners, we're going to pop it right in the back of the airbrush, and we're just going to blow it through, absolutely everywhere. So we're just going to take the dry end of cotton bud into the back. Okay, just going to give it a clean and a wipe around, absolutely everywhere. So again, in like this, keeping it all nice and clean, so a fresh bit of bounty. Obviously other ones are available. Okay, so what we're going to do, pop it all back together, so end nozzle and needle cap go on the end. Now you could go around and obviously clean up all these parts as well at the same time, but I'm just doing a quick breakdown and clean. Okay, needle, so obviously the flat part goes down. This is the actual needle trigger and airbrush pull back. Little technique for getting the Evo ones in is to pull the end bit back so it sinks back in, and that way it all screws in a lot easier. Just goes in, collet on the back that will grab the needle. Needle goes in, end guard goes on, air gets reattached, blow through. Now obviously we've still got to clean out your colour cut, but you just do that anyway, so we're just doing this to show. Okay, goes on the end, and then neat thinners goes in, and as you can probably see, one very nice, very triggy, there's no stickiness, it's completely tap, pull back, all the rest of it, clean, there's nothing coming out the end, although it probably will in a minute because obviously we've got in the colour cut. Airbrush. So that's a quick, straightforward, real time, I'll just take this off, clean of your actual airbrush. So now you're absolutely fine and carry on. Let's say that one was drying with acrylic paint in it for 2 weeks. So it just shows it can be done. So I'm now just going to clean up the colour cup and everything else, and then we can get on with some modelling. Okay, so that's about it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Plenty to get through. The only thing we've got to speak about is I've got to welcome our new team member. Okay, now this is a guy who we've been watching in our forum doing this amazing stuff, and you know, it's one of those things that I'm a military modeller. A lot of the team tend to do military stuff, and Dave, he does more the sort of civil side, and it's great to see a different genre of the model. So we invited Dave to come along with the team, and amazingly he said yeah, so he doesn't know what he's let himself in for. But Dave Beswick, he is a fantastic at doing gloss work as well as old rusty. So as you can probably see here, this is some of his work that he's been putting up in the forums over the last few months, and it's absolutely stunning to see. It's like, oh, and here's one I did earlier, and everyone's like, wow, how'd you do that? And especially when you see some of his custom paint works about doing, you know, flame patterns. These are hand done. These aren't just, you know, decals put on or, you know, custom made templates for it. This is him doing it himself. Absolutely fantastic guy. He's agreed to do some articles for us and for the full build, so now he's now part of the team, which means there's no getting out of it. You're with us until the day you die. Okay, so that's it. So hopefully what he's going to be doing is, members, you can see his work now. He's obviously started on this one, you can see here with the flames up the truck. Amazing stuff, and he's explaining exactly how he does it and everything else. What we're going to do, as soon as he's got a little bit more forward, we'll bring him out onto the main site and do it. But also he's going to write some articles for us, as is the rest of the team. These will be custom articles which will be out in there. What we're planning on doing over the next few months is developing the photo builds to be a sort of must-have, must-see thing. So if you've got doing a certain thing on an aircraft, you'll go through a menu, you'll click on it, and you might see 3 or 4 different photo builds on that one. So we're going to have it running literally alongside the videos. So now what's going to happen, the photo builds will be a major part, just as me rabbiting on and showing you how I do it. You're going to see the guys doing photo builds as well, showing you in full detail, explaining everything they can do. A lot better than, I can't say, than the magazines do, because obviously they're limited on page and advertising. We're not. We can do anything you like, okay? So we're going to put hundreds of photos up, clear explaining how you can do modelling and moving your modelling along, and perhaps even if you know a lot of it, you might pick up new tips and new tricks and different tools that people use. So we're really excited about this side of it. So it will be coming along shortly. As I said, the site's going to have a revamp. It's starting to happen already. You might see a few things changing already. The rest of them, some more, and we're going to follow in this weekend, and then hopefully what will happen is over the next few weeks you'll see a big sort of evolution to the site where it's going to have photo builds really are in the forefront, and the videos, and then obviously the store running through in the middle. So that's it from the main site. Great work everybody in the forum. There's some fantastic builds coming along, and hopefully I'm going to be showcasing them again on the new show as well, because some of you guys doing fantastic work. But again, we'd like to bring a lot of your builds, because some of you are real hidden talents down there, out to the main site. So if you do want to see your stuff on the main site, have a word with one of the team, or certainly what we'll do is be knocking on your inbox and asking you if we can bring it out. Don't worry about your photos and that. We will transfer them all to our server, because I know a lot of you are sort of like, yeah, don't use me bandwidth, because we do tend to eat up a lot of bandwidth here. So we'll take care of all of that and just bring your photos over onto our servers, and then we can bring them out to the site. Pretty full week this week, as you say, with the old news show, so that's really about it. We can get in for this time. Great work. Next week, as I said, I'm going to bring all those videos to you from everybody's work that they've been doing with the last 2 SIGs. For the Allied Armour SIG will be up, and the winners will be announced. So will the Swedish one as well, so well worth that. Till next week, everybody, happy modelling and take care.